Hello and welcome to the Animation Triad, your passport to the many worlds of animation. I'm your host, Stuart, and it is my pleasure, nay, my honor, to act as your guide to the world of animated films. With me, as usual, are my co-hosts.
Hello, my name is William, and I will be your host to all things Western animated.
Ahoy, ahoy! I'm Alex. I'll be your guide to all things anime and Far Eastern.
Together, we are the Animation Triad, and we will strive to introduce you to interesting animated films and series that, hopefully, you're unfamiliar with. Heck, even if you are familiar with them, maybe we can show them to you in something of a new light.
How this works will happen thusly. Each of us will take a turn a podcast to introduce to you an animated special of our own specialty.
And we will also have special segments, guest hosts, animated news, upcoming films, and other goodies to come.
So, without further ado, let the show begin.
Flight of dragons soar in the purple light.
Hello, and welcome to episode 1 of the Animation Triad. I'm your host, Stuart, and what you just heard, those lovely melodies, was The Flight of Dragons, as sung by Don McLean, who, if that name rings a bell, and it should, is most famous for his 1971 hit, American Pie.
Used in the same name, used in the same title movie, where a boy fingers a pie and becomes a man.
See, I always loved that song mostly for Weird Al's parody of it.
Oh, yeah. That's a good song.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, it's one of those songs I hear at work all the time.
Yeah, it's a class. It's a 70s and 80s tune that it doesn't make you want to claw your eardrums out after repeat listening.
It's not too whiny 70s, and it's not. It's just a pretty decent song, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
It's aged well, for the most part. But yes, back to this movie. On hand. Tangents. Woo! Indeed.
Tangents.
So, The Flight of Dragons is a 1982 fantasy film by Riken Brass Productions. Now, if that name sounds familiar to you, or is currently causing you to have PTS flashbacks involving stop-motion puppets, then you're in for a treat.
I want to be a dentist.
Oh, no. Okay. This is going to be a little bit painful for me. I used to have a love-hate relationship with the early claymation Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer films.
Were they claymation? I thought they were like puppets or something. They were like figurines.
Kind of like a cross between clay and wood.
Yeah, I think that's a bit.
They did look. They were very solid, but at the same time, you could definitely tell that they were malleable in certain areas. But anyways, I used to watch them usually Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, usually out of season, probably to my parents' dismay.
Yeah.
So, but they also managed to somehow turn that into a punishment / incentive for me to do something like, go to bed, Alex. No, I don't want to. Well, put on Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Okay, I'm going to bed. I'm going to bed. Reason being that the Abominable Snowman was terrifying to me, because all you see, first scene, is just this massive foot coming down, capable of crushing Rudolph and the entire sleigh team for Santa. I mean, it doesn't also help that later on he is trying to eat Rudolph and all of his friends, so yeah.
As you generally would want to. I mean, just after a while they'd annoy you.
Yeah. And they tried to, make him seem friendly towards the end, but he's like, no, you just took the teeth out. He still has his bare hands. He can club you all and grind you up to make their...
I think you just tick him off more yanking the teeth out.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
yeah.
Let's face it. If they're not baby teeth, they're going to hurt coming out.
Oh.
And you're just going to give them incentive to bash your head against the rocks because you just ruined his gum line and pretty much relegated him to eating pudding.
Then you have to wonder, okay, what kind of CIA interrogation techniques were they putting him through off screen to make him obedient?
Okay, now I'm just picturing like a 24 episode with Jack Bauer interrogating the Yeti.
Give him a light switch and a bucket of water. He'll have him tamed.
Where's the girl? Yank.
Okay, but yeah, that's my Rick and Bass nightmare fuel from a childhood. Will, yours?
Well, if you hear the name Rankin Bass, you probably don't know, but they worked on the 1985 Thundercats cartoon.
Oh.
Thundercats! Ho! They also worked on Silverhawks, as well as, and I can't believe this actually exists, a Jackson 5 animated cartoon.
Well, yeah, pretty much. I mean, but think about it. The Bradys also had their own animated cartoon, oddly enough. I mean, let's go with the whole Scooby-Doo ripoff. All those Hanna-Barbera ones with, like, what were some of them? Like, the Clue Pack or something? Or, I don't know.
There was Jabberjaw.
Jabberjaw and all that. Like, so, I mean, it's understandable that they'd want to, like, take something popular, make it into an animated series like that.
Oh, yeah. It happened all the time. Ninja Turtles came out, all of a sudden you also get Street Sharks, Biker Mice from Mars.
Gargoyles, to some degree.
Well, I mean, we'll break. We'll
Mummies
talk about that
Alive.
Later. But, I mean, if it worked for the Beatles, it can work for the Jackson 5.
Alright, so...
Very true.
Yeah, so anyways, your nightmare fuel?
Didn't really have much nightmare fuel. I mean, just having to sit down at Christmas and go like, yes, I know, he wants to be a dentist. Why does he want to be a dentist? Yeah. He makes toys!
Yeah, why would
Have you seen what a dentist makes?
Yeah.
Have you seen what a dentist does?
Yeah, true.
Well, what's the difference between a dentist and a sadist? The magazines.
Very true, very true.
The equipment they used.
Well, that's...
Debatable.
And that's
well, I mean, you got the wrenches, you got the leather whips.
Aha. I see what you did there. I'm just glad my... Yeah, thank you, Mom and Dad, for drilling the fear of dentists into me and making sure I brush after every meal and floss and...
Yay.
Yeah.
So, when they weren't actually terrifying us with stop-motion atrocities, they were also making some pretty well-known animated films. They made The Hobbit in 1977, and they also did an adaptation of The Return of the King from 1980. Now, as for why they didn't adapt the other two films, the Two Towers and the original Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Rings, that's a legal dispute because another company actually did it.
Yeah.
I think one of the actual first adaptations, animation-wise, was done by, for the Lord of the Rings, was done by Ralph Blanchy. Oh. I could be mispronouncing that name. I'm a big fan of his work.
I think I've heard it Blashky.
Blashky. I've heard it pronounced a couple of different ways. All I can say is the man has a distinct style generally. This one is a bit more out there because it's rotoscoped.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, some people are really against it.
Really?
Hey, I mean, there was an animated, there's an anime a couple years ago that actually used rotoscope. That was Flowers of Evil, I believe was the name of it. A lot of people were up in arms about that because the characters looked absolutely nothing like what they were in the comic or in the manga, I should say. I never watched it myself. I just remember, well, I'm interested in animation. I thought rotoscoping was interesting. But then again, it is a really old style that people have been using for years. I mean, Disney used it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the dancing animations for, for Snow White, which they then reused for, like, Robin Hood.
Yeah!
The Jungle Book had several instances of that as well.
Oh, yeah, same with Sword in the Stone.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if you've got the assets and you can,
cut corners,
repurpose them for another film, then why not?
Reduce, reuse, recycle. Captain Planet, man.
With all powers combined.
Yeah, we are
making a podcast.
Yeah.
True.
So, another film they're really famous for.
Yeah.
And this is a really good film, which we will eventually get to.
Oh, yeah?
The Last Unicorn.
Oh, yeah.
Another classic from them. But today, as I said, we got to get back on topic, folks.
Yeah.
The Flight of Dragons.
Flights. So
You talk about ADD.
yeah. So Flight of Dragons, is that like they're flying dragons, or is that just what they call a group, like a pack of dogs or a murder of crows?
Well, actually, it's kind of both, because flight is a big factor into the story.
Yeah.
And the flight is actually what they use for the term for, like, a group of them. So, as you said, murder of crows, a flight of dragons, which I thought was an interesting term for them.
Yeah.
It's not something you hear every day, because usually it's like you can't exactly say a horde of dragons, because a horde usually refers to their treasure and everything.
Or your alliance in an MMORPG.
Very true.
Yeah.
But what makes this film interesting is because instead of, like a lot of fantasy stories, it's based off of a book.
Yeah.
But in this case, it's not just based off one book. It's an algorithm, I guess. Is that the right term? Amalgamation. I always screw that up for some reason. It's an amalgamation of two different books. Most of the science from the movie and a lot of the art direction comes from The Flight of Dragons from 1979 by Peter Dickinson.
Yeah.
Now, this name will come into factor later. But a lot of the story actually comes from a book called The Dragon and the George from 1976 by Gordon R. Dickson. Now, his book, I read this book when I was much younger, and I don't have the book anymore, unfortunately. It was the first book in a series called the Dragon Knight series. And it was pretty good. I remember thoroughly enjoying them. And we'll talk more about the plot of that book as we get through the movie, but I'm going to make some comparisons, because there are some big changes. And you can definitely tell where certain things came in and they changed things around.
Yeah.
So this is, in fact, a new... It's taking two old things, combining them to make something new, which I think is kind of cool.
It's prevalent in a lot of different series. They take ideas or storylines from one book or another and try to marry them together. More often than not, though, I've seen it where they try to combine too many ideas or ideas that are fundamentally uncompatible, and it just ends up a mess. This, though,
it worked pretty well, I thought.
I felt like the flow of the mixing between the two stories, it didn't cause any major interruptions going forward.
In essence, it was its own thing, and had its own plot and narrative, which flowed seamlessly, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't what I would call anything, breakout memorable, but it does have, it's something you just sort of, spend like a viewing or, on a board.
Rainy afternoon?
Yeah. Exactly.
Pop it in. I mean, it's better than some of the other stuff you're going to see. But yeah, I think we should get to the plot.
Yes.
Plot.
All right.
Yes. Lay it on us.
So, the plot. In ancient times, there are the four wizards. The green wizard, Cornelius. The blue wizard, the yellow wizard. And the red wizard, Omadon. We didn't name two of them because they don't matter.
They are inconsequential.
Pretty much. Except for, like, they give gifts, as wizards generally do, to help out the events.
And it's always, and it wouldn't be me if, in my, nitpicky sometimes nature to point out that Yellow Wizard is the Chinese wizard who...
Yeah, a little on the nose there.
The Yellow Wizard, the wizard of air, heaven, and racial stereotyping.
Voiced by, of course, Dr. Bernard Quest from Johnny Quest, and it sounds just like him too. That's the funny thing.
No way. So like the first Johnny Quest series, because I know they
the original, yeah.
Oh wow.
But let's see I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah, the Don Messick, who is also, and if you're a fan of Scooby-Doo, you should know this because he was the original voice of Scooby-Doo. Yeah.
Wow. That must have been a big relief for his vocal cords switch from, doing that dog, hard pitch voice to something vaguely resembling a human, even if it was a,
Yeah, well, I mean, later in life, he said he actually couldn't do Scooby's voice anymore because he'd given up smoking.
Oh,
yeah.
Really?
Huh.
He was only able to do that because he was a...
I think it was to do with cancer problems
Okay,
as well.
no,
So,
okay.
I mean, it's just like because he was going through a lot of the old... I think this was at a convention he went to at some point, and he was going through all the voices, and he says, I have trouble doing the Scooby-Doo voice anymore.
Okay, because of... Okay. Gotcha,
Note
gotcha.
to all current and future listeners, Animation Triad neither endorses nor condones smoking to improve your voice acting talent. So if you are looking to get into the industry at some point, we do not encourage that behavior.
Thank you. Don't sue.
Consider this your Dare Awareness advertisement.
Mm-hmm.
The more you know.
Yeah, so anyways, you mentioned voice actors. Omadon had a surprising...
yes.
There was
voice
no way
actor.
we weren't going to talk about this one.
This is a great one. So, Omadon, the Red Wizard.
Hold on to your butts, people.
All right. Now, who could be the most villainous voice you can imagine for this? Besides Tim Curry.
Well, I mean...
Yeah, I mean, Tim Curry is just like the
Tim
default
Curry.
villain in most animated stuff. I got
Pretty much, yeah.
I mean, Pebble and the Penguin and...
The Smog and...
Fern Gully.
Fern Gully, yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, this guy...
The one, the only, James Earl Jones!
Oh, man.
Yes.
Oh, no.
Darth Vader himself.
Also, Mufasa, he wasn't always playing the bad guy all
Okay,
the
he
time.
wasn't, just most of the time. I mean, well, how many times has he played like an evil wizard-like character? I mean, Darth Vader, I guess you could count as a paladin, or what was it you said?
Death Knight.
Death Knight.
Death Knight, yeah.
What's the distinction between the two? I'm not exactly...
Paladins are pretty much light aligned.
Mhm.
They cast more like ladies and gentlemen, my knowledge of all things mythological come from video games. So I'm basing my knowledge of paladins from Warcraft 3, and by extension, World of Warcraft. Please don't hate me, I'm just that big of a weeaboo.
I thought I was supposed to be the weeaboo here.
We're all weeaboos here, Alex. Every single one of us.
Oh, well, I'm in good company then.
Fair enough.
Yeah. But, and again, Warcraft 3 knowledge. They're very light-based, they're healing, pretty much they are the defenders of the church. Death Knights, by comparison, are guys who basically, well, they have a skull motif, and they seek out and kill all those who they do not like. Plus, they have awesome swords.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
I think Omadon also wins in the sword department too. It's at least in the death motif.
Oh, he's got the
factor,
biggest,
too, yeah.
meanest dragon around.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Which is interesting because throughout this movie, dragons are not portrayed as the villains by and large, but just sort of like part of the natural order of things.
Which
Now,
is a nice change of pace,
Yeah.
generally.
Yeah.
The-
Dragons are just like, if you see a squirrel outside, it's like, oh, hey, a squirrel. If you see a dragon flying overhead, oh, hey, a dragon.
Yeah.
Familiarity breeds,
Yeah.
boredom, or in some cases contempt, as is the case with Omadon, I guess, because he, let's just say he was all too familiar with his brothers and their philosophy, and, Mr. Red Wizard James L. Jones was having none of that.
Yeah. So the basic premise is the four wizard brothers, the guardians of all magic, basically, are coming to realize that the age of magic is slowly coming to an end. And they decide that in order to preserve magic, as man moves more towards logic and science, that they must use their remaining power to create the realm of magic, where all magical creatures and beings will be cut off from the rest of man, but can be accessed through dreams and moments of inspiration, so that they can continue to inspire man to improve themselves.
I actually really like that.
I like it too, even if it starts bringing back weird flashbacks to Imagination Land from South Park. I'm sorry, I happen to like that.
That was a good story arc. That was. I had a good laugh with that one.
Oh yeah.
I have it on tape
But,
somewhere.
But yeah, I did like the dichotomy of magic versus science, and wasn't demonizing one or the other, just saying that the two are fundamentally opposing forces in sometimes, and you can try to work with both of them, but it takes a lot of effort and compromise.
I think the gist of it was that if one person focuses too much on one, it can push out the other, which you need balance. The whole idea is balance. So in that regard,
you have those the forces of antiquity that are imposing the laws of the universe and saying,
which actually is one of the characters' name is Antiquity. The origin of magic, where all this comes from.
Which you never actually see. It's just sort of a background.
Tree, kind of, at one point.
It turns into a giant tree and it instructs the Green Wizard with something. I mean, hey, it worked for Moses.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. So, in that regard, how to explain this properly? The wizards the good wizards...
Yeah.
Which are the three?
The blue, the green, and the
stereotype.
The stereotype, yes. So, they want to use magic. They say that magic can live with technology, but only as inspiration. Because a man looks at the fairies and sees them fly, and imagines that one day they will fly too, and builds airships. They see the dragon's impenetrable skin, and they decide, we're going to make armor, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and then you have Omadon being, the one dissenting, evil red wizard, just sort of saying...
Well, in that regards, I think, why don't we have Omadon explain it himself?
Oh, yeah.
Turn up the volume, ladies and gentlemen. This is one heck of a speech.
And hold on to your pants.
Here's James Earl Jones.
Indeed.
I will not concede defeat by this modern world. I will not retire to this fool's paradise.
But we have no choice. Inevitability is the strongest magic of all.
I have weapons you would not dare use. Fear rules men. By summoning all the dark powers, I will infest the spirit of man so that he uses his science and logic to destroy himself. What havoc I will raise. Turn brother against brother. Greed and avarice shall prevail. And those who do not hear my words shall pay the price. I'll teach man to use his machines. I'll show him what distorted science can give birth to. I'll teach him to fly like a fairy. And I'll give the ultimate answer to all his science can ask. And the world will be free for my magic again.
God, you gotta love the man for his evil laughs. And I just wanted to bring up one thing, one little trivia. In the speech, there is the image of a bomb dropping and falling, and then later a mushroom cloud. One role that James Earl Jones is known for is being a member of the bombing crew in Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb.
Oh, no way.
Such a good film.
Yeah.
Babyface James Earl Jones was in there. He even has lines, like near the end, when the captain...
that famous scene
when he falls down, James Earl Jones goes, "Hey, where's the captain?" And then you see the captain just go, "Whoa!"
Yeah, there's just something about the man and always being drawn to these, apocalyptic, war-like scenarios and characters that, I mean, not necessarily a bad thing, but typecasting.
Yeah.
To some degree, I guess.
If you're good at it, you're good at it.
But yeah, I'm in the when I saw that portion, and it really did, bring home the fact,
it's
man's
a
gift.
Yeah, it's a good villain speech.
Yeah. Oh,
it
yeah.
really is.
Yeah.
I gotta.
I'll
admit.
teach man to use his science.
Yeah. Turn it into a double-edged sword, or...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that was actually really good. Now, the thing is, the wizards cannot fight each other
No.
because of the rules of magic.
Yeah.
And
they've got the whole Greek Olympian god scenario going on where they have to work through mortals because it's the fates. They don't want us fighting, and in all honesty, if they probably did, it would probably end up being more havoc than if they just let others duke it out for them.
That and the author needed to draw out the story, so hey, we can't have these nigh powerful beings destroying each other. That would be way too quick.
yeah, that just won't end well for anyone. Okay, so after this meeting, they then decide that they have to get a hero, as we said, that has about the whole cannot fight one another. So they decide they're going to get the descendant of the first hero to ever tame dragons. I believe that was it, wasn't it?
The Dragon Tamer?
Was it Dragon Tamer or
Dragon...
It definitely wasn't Dragon Slayer, because there
wasn't
were
Dragon
dragons
Slayer.
about.
It was
It was something to do with dragons, but it was like the
I think-
770...
Wait, I think it was 700 descendant who taught them to speak English or something.
That's
Oh,
right.
that's it, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So, to do this, the Green Wizard Cornelius
Yes.
gazes into the future, into the 80s.
Oh,
The
that's
swinging
not-
80s.
Actually, no, the film came out in the 80s, so it's technically the 70s, I
The
think.
swinging 70s.
that poor
Yeah,
man.
all that jive-ass stuff.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're not cool. We're nerds.
Yeah, pretty much.
Cool. So, my mom says so.
We try.
But anyways, swinging 70s.
Yes, the 70s, where we meet our hero,
And,
aptly named Peter Dickinson.
Self-insert.
Uh-oh.
Yes, who is a little down on his luck because he's at I think it's supposed to be trying to get a loan from a pawnbroker.
Why are you trying to get money from a pawnbroker without exchanging something?
I know. Well, he
Yeah.
did try, and it's like, oh, this is my grandfather's watch, and he's like, I wouldn't give you $5 for that watch.
Yeah. I mean, we should also probably mention that Peter Dickinson is, kind of like the loser nerd of the D&D club because, I mean, this guy, he was a successful, college graduate. Back,
Oh, yeah.
He's a successful college graduate who suddenly just started researching dragons and trying to prove they existed.
Yeah, came up with his own prototype board game, too. Wanted to, say he can make millions off of it. Sorry, man, but Gary Gygax is going to beat you to the punch there.
Oh, and what is the board game called? Oh, and what is his thesis called?
Oh, jeez.
The Flight of Dragons.
Self-insert.
But from an actual marketing point of view, for the film, it makes sense because imagine this. After the events of the film, you're saying that he went back to the human realm, to the future, the present, I guess, in that film sense, and released the book. So it's the book's a tie-in to it, in a way. So, I mean, that's kind of interesting. For a tie-in point of view, that's actually kind of interesting.
Logic.
Yeah. But here's the thing about the board game he makes, and which he's currently playing with the pawnbroker / loan shark guy, which is never really established what he is.
All you need to know is he's got this shop, and it looks like it's filled with seemingly fancy doodads that he supposedly buys and sells, whatever.
Yeah. So the characters in the board game are all modeled after the Wizard brothers.
And the adopted daughter of the Green Wizard.
Yes.
Make of that what you will.
Who we'll touch on that later.
Oy.
And the wizards are just like, oh my gosh, it's so weird. Like he must be the one we need to summon. And the wizard Cornelius then freezes time and brings the little statue of character of himself on the board game to life to talk to Peter.
Now, before you ask, yes, a wizard did do it.
Wouldn't be a sci-fi.
Oh,
or wouldn't be
that's
fantasy
just-
if the wizard didn't do it.
That's going to come into play in a few minutes, because the first thing Peter asks is, upon figuring out what's going on, basically, is, how did I know about you guys? How did this happen? And Cornelius basically brushes it off like, it's magic, don't think about it.
Uh-huh.
God, I laugh.
No
every
kidding. He basically
time.
just says, no, shut up, son. Just don't think too much on it. Just shut up. Let it happen. Let it happen.
It literally, as you said, a wizard did it.
Yes.
And I guarantee you that there are young kids that will watch this, and kids are not the idiots that a lot of even modern day animation films think of them as. They are smart, they pick up on things, and they are going to ask that question and then write the letters to the creators, and then they'll be the ones having to deal with that at the fan conventions 20 years down the line. So,
No, son. Just don't think about it. Just don't dwell on it. Let it happen. Let it happen.
Yeah.
So, they enter the past / realm of magic, and are introduced to Gorbash, the dragon, who is basically the house dragon for the Green Wizard.
Oh, wait. Is this the one who is voiced by?
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you were young enough to watch this show, you may remember the plight that is Snarf
From Thundercats.
No.
from the Thundercats. Yeah, he comes back and he voices.
A couple of characters in this, actually.
Yeah. But this one is on Snarf level of annoyance.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
dragon, I gotta admit, he's rather annoying. So he flies them down to the basically wizard's cabin, and this is where Peter is introduced to the charming
And lovely.
Yeah.
I'm blanking on her name now all of a sudden.
Hey,
1 second, let me see if I can pull it up here. Oh,
well, if it's all right with you guys,
Melisandra? Melisandria?
Let's just call her Mel.
Mel. Yeah, we'll go with Mel.
Mel
She's
works, and
barely really.
and I hope you guys don't
does
mind if we
anything.
spoil it, but yes, Peter and Mel end up together as a couple by the end because
She's the token female character. Of course she's going to end up with the hero protagonist.
Yeah.
yeah, even though her role in the movie pretty quickly on is just reduced to sort of like
Nothing.
well more like
Sleeping. She basically sleeps.
Yeah, you're right. She did actually. Well, we'll get to that in a second because that just didn't make a lot of sense.
Well, yeah.
That I mean, her purpose, especially that one scene. But we will get to that. So basically, they meet and they're like, "Oh, true love," and they're
Romeo and Juliet style.
basically, like, "Oh, first love at first sight." And they start talking, and then Omadon sends the big bad dragon, his big monster dragon, to come kill him.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
yeah.
So.
Props to Omadon.
Oh yeah, I mean, nip it in the bud before it starts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, someone's been reading the, things I will not do as an evil villain overlord.
Oh, yeah, the
Very
evil
true.
overlord list.
Yes.
Everyone needs that.
Except he breaks that towards the end, but we'll get into that.
No.
So, the dragon, the big dragon comes and gets him, and they're flying off, and the other two dragons are trying to go after him to save him, and Cornelius does his magic, but because the world of magic and humans are interacting so much, his magic is fading, and he botches the spell.
Don't worry, we're slowly transitioning into a world of science. There's going to be a pill for that.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
So, instead of, safely teleporting him down, he basically merges Peter with Gorbash.
So he just got merged with the mind of Snarf Dragon.
Oh.
I'm nothing but my sincere condolences to him for having to endure that fate.
Yes.
Yeah.
So basically, the dragon is now... Basically, Peter is now possessing the dragon, Gorbash. And they're like, well, what are we going to do now? I mean, we needed him to do this. He's the only one who can actually save it. Save the world now. They're like, well,
might as well start teaching him how to
Be a dragon. Yeah. So they get the help of Gorbash's uncle, another dragon, called Smurgle. Yeah.
It sounds almost Norse mythology with how they pronounce it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, I could possibly see a connection there. There were a lot of dragon slayers in Norse mythology.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So they then go into a little montage. Oh, no. Then we are introduced to the third of their company.
Oh, yes.
Sir Orin Neville Smythe. Who is basically the stereotypical chivalrous knight.
Yeah.
With a mustache that could cut butter.
This is one fine mustache, people.
Oh, yeah, I mean, this is like, Perot would be impressed.
Yeah, and his entire character is kind of Don Quixote-esque in terms of wanting to uphold the chivalrous, stereotypical knight, shtick, but in actuality, not necessarily fighting imaginary monsters and whatnot, but just being absolutely lousy at it.
No, he actually holds his own pretty well in the two fights you see.
He holds his own, but there's only so much a guy in chainmail and a sword can do against, super powered magic beans on, steroids.
Not to mention only so much one can do in a 2-hour film.
Oh, yeah.
True.
Something, lost in adaptation, if you will. Yeah, there's more from the book. He plays bigger into the book.
Okay.
The Dragon and the George, in all honesty.
What is a George, anyways?
Oh, in the story in the world of the book, The Dragon and the George, a George is the catch-all phrase that dragons have for any human.
Oh.
Because of St. George the Dragon Slayer.
Oh.
Yeah.
So they've got that little bit of a, negative slang stereotype for them.
Wait, would that be a racist term in that case?
I guess you could consider it that.
Child-friendly racism?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, oh, look, it's one of them Georgies. It's like, God.
I guess you could go with that, but then again, thinking about how knights generally interact with dragons in most media.
Yeah.
It kind of makes sense.
Yeah, but, I mean, come on. The undertones are there, people.
Yeah.
Don't deny it.
Yeah.
By the way, we do not condone or endorse any acts of racism, be it actual or in the mythological sense.
People are people. Treat them as such.
Indeed. Be kind to your four-legged friends or winged creatures.
Love thy neighbor, all thy neighbors, except for spiders. It's true spiders. Hate spiders.
Oh.
Unless they're named Nancy.
Okay, so, anyways, Dragon, Smeargle, and, now Peter Dickinson in Snarf Dragon, they have to go off on the quest to
discover how, to stop Omadon by stealing his red crown, which is the source of his power.
The One Ring, people.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Except it doesn't get destroyed, they just have to literally
take it off his head.
Yeah.
Which is like, really?
Do it in his sleep.
Yeah, pretty much. But here's the thing, he's always watching them. He's an omnipotent character, because he's always watching them.
Well, you've got a band of adventurers coming to your doorstep. Of course you're going to have your security cameras on them.
Oh, yeah, pretty much. I mean, I give him that. He does follow them, and he does send stuff constantly after them. So he's a proactive villain. He doesn't sit around doing nothing.
Well, it's like the old saying, villains act, heroes react.
Very true. That is very true.
Yeah, I'm actually trying to think of times when that isn't the case, where it's more, the heroes act and the villains react, but that's usually more in the case of,
they tried that in DC with Cry for Justice, and it was horrible.
Yeah, heroes trying to, play more of a proactive or,
how do you do that exactly? I
could see that working in sort of like the rebel faction / uprising type where, playing out, having the grand designs laid out, but again, that is unfortunately a stereotype that a lot of heroes do end up getting saddled with. Not that there's anything bad about it, but unless you know how to structure it well and make your characters engaging, then it's gonna end up becoming a sticking point no matter what you do.
True. Now I think we should talk about what happens next with the whole Peter learning about dragons.
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
Okay.
This is a really interesting point, people. So turn up your volume, turn on your ears, and let's go.
All right. So, how do dragons fly?
Magic!
Wrong.
Can we talk about how the dragons are shaped first?
You know, that is a very good point. I'll let you explain that part.
Well, are you sure? Because I have a real problem with how these dragons are shaped.
You're very opinionated on it.
Okay.
It's okay. Let him
Okay.
have
Get
it.
it out. Let's hear it.
Ladies and gentlemen, imagine a balloon. A balloon covered in scales, with a neck attached to a head, short stubby little wings, a tail at the other end, and short little feet. That is how a dragon is proportioned in the Flight of Dragons.
Unless it's the Chinese dragon, in which
Unless it's
case-
the Chinese dragons, which
Looked pretty cool. I got
looked pretty cool and looked very stereotyped.
I'm still confused. Like, how the heck do they fly if
Feng Shui.
Wizard did it?
A Chinese wizard feng shuied it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Fair
but
But yeah, it's basically you have dragon head, dragon feet, dragon tail, dragon wings, fat body,
Pop belly.
round belly.
well, they kind of explain it as the dragons. There's a lot of gas. They inhale gas and air to
Different
keep them
compartments and
buoyant,
everything.
yeah.
So basically, they straight up rob dwarves. That was hilarious.
Oh man, they
Yeah,
run.
yeah.
There's a whole like racketeering thing with the dragons. I mean, and when you see them start, it's like hey dwarves, get out of here, and then he just blows fire into their tunnel. This is straight up gangster, people.
Yeah.
These are gangster dragons. And when Peter brings it up, Smeargle's like, no. Just listen. You roll with dragons, you do with dragons, okay? Just let it go, kid. Let it go.
This
Yeah,
is how
and-
it is in the streets, man.
Yeah.
Listen, this is tough times, man.
This ain't the
is tough
academy no more. This is how it really is.
You ain't in Mama's home anymore. You out in the streets.
If this had been, a Pixar production, I can almost see it kind of playing out like a Bug's Life, where the dwarves realize, hey, we don't have to take this anymore. I mean, we've got all the diamonds. We got the power. They got nothing without us. So
They've got flaming breath.
well,
But,
they
yeah.
only got flaming breath if they have the right dietary supplements.
Yeah, in that regards, they have to eat gemstones, and then they have to eat, was it limestone?
Yeah, limestone.
Yeah,
Limestone.
gemstones and limestones that cause gas to form in their stomachs, which they have multiple chambers, hence the balloon-shaped stomach.
Yeah,
Think of Scaly Hindenburg.
exactly.
Exactly like that.
More on that later on,
Later
but
on.
yeah, it was interesting how Smeargle is trying to explain it in sort of this caveman slash mythological sense, like
Well, Smeargle says, it's just magic, it's how dragons work.
yeah, and then Peter Dickinson, Dragon Snarf, is going all nerdy scientist, like, oh well, the limestone is also part of what was it?
It produces sulfur, I believe.
It produces sulfur or something in the stomach
Yeah.
and causes it to expand.
Yeah.
And the reason they breathe fire is so that they can release the gas to descend. Which leads into some questions. But
Which I
this
will
is
bring
how they
up.
ignite the gas, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Was that in the roof of every dragon's mouth, there is basically a
flint.
a flint. Well, not so much a flint. It's electricity. They say
Oh,
they
yeah.
ignite it with like
A
electrical-
thimble-like organ
Yeah.
that produces electricity.
So in a way, they're kind of related to electric eels, I guess,
Maybe.
in
Oh,
some
yeah.
degree like that when you think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, the only other time I can think of somebody putting this much effort into explaining how dragons worked was that Christian Bale film.
Oh no, Rain of Fire. Oh no.
Oh.
That movie was terrible.
It was a bad movie. I liked
Eh,
certain aspects of it when I was
Yeah.
younger.
Yeah.
When I was younger, I liked certain aspects
Yeah,
of it.
one or two good aspects does not salvage an entire train wreck.
I
hate to
was
say that.
amazed to find out that the bald guy was Matthew McConaughey.
What?
Really?
Yeah, I could not tell at all. That was him.
Really?
Yeah, you rewatch, look it up on IMDb or just rewatch it, and it's like
Huh.
that's Matthew McConaughey.
Huh. So
And this was back when he was mostly doing like
B-movie stuff.
B-movies and romantic comedies, like How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days or stuff like that.
Oh,
so that was like right around that period.
Huh.
So I mean, this was before Lincoln Lawyer. This was before the Dallas Buyers Club or Interstellar or anything like that.
Yeah, okay.
Before he became,
Pretty
Mr. Big
decent,
Guy.
I guess. I mean,
Yeah.
I still haven't seen many of his films, in all honesty.
Yeah.
But yeah, that one I liked their explanation of how they could breathe fire.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
but
okay.
this was the tangents. Okay, so they figure out how to fly and everything, and they're like, okay, we're gonna rest for the night.
Yeah.
And then
Nightmare fuel happens.
yes, nightmare fuel. We are introduced to the sand mites,
Yeah.
which I gotta admit were pretty interesting.
Yeah.
They were actually a very interesting fantasy element, like a monster you don't see too often. And I gotta give them credit for this one, because they're basically, well, they're also in the book, in the Dragon and the George, and they show up more often in that. They actually keep reappearing.
Okay.
But
Okay.
in the film, they only show up the one time.
Yeah.
So in the book, well,
I honestly don't remember the description in the book.
Oh, okay. But
yeah, I'm gonna focus on the film.
all right. Yeah.
Because
you gotta
I
get-
haven't read the book in a while. I'm
Okay.
trying to find a copy of
Okay,
it.
but so for the movie version.
For the movie version, basically, they're like they kind of look like lizard rats.
Yeah.
Like some sort of hairless rat goblin.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Like someone took a meerkat and covered it in scales almost.
Yeah. But then, this is what makes them special. They're on their own. They're very just like nothing. They can't do anything to you.
Yeah.
What makes them dangerous is the sound they make,
Yeah.
which is like cicadas with buzzsaws.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the sound, what they do is they use their sound to drive you either insane or cause you to fight each other. And then, once you're tired out or completely incapacitated by insanity, they move in and just gnaw you to death.
Yep.
How fun.
And they usually are supposed to be like by the seaside.
Yeah, yeah.
Omadon has summoned them to drive them insane and kill them.
Again, very proactive villain like this guy.
Smart move. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a scary thing to fight.
Yeah.
True.
I mean, how can you fight sound?
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, people, you're listening to this. How can you fight us?
Yeah. By turning this off.
Please don't.
No, please,
no! Don't listen to these two.
Okay.
We need a dedicated
So,
audience.
Anyways, you guys mentioned, Omadon being proactive
Mhm.
in
Yeah.
terms of his evil machinations and constant hindrances, but at the same time, it does feel like Blue Wizard and stereotypical Chinese Wizard also try to play the proactive role too by sending other helpful elements too.
Well, that's how they beat the sand mites.
Yeah.
The Blue Wizard does something useful because his realm is
the
sea, and he's like, I shall send all my creatures, and the Green Wizard's like, Omadon doesn't live near any water.
Your guppies won't help.
Yeah, he's like, I shall send the Leviathan.
Sorry, Aquaman. No, you can talk to sharks all day, but until they grow legs, not gonna
help.
Yeah.
So, and this is just, I still find this funny. He uses his magic to bring to life a dead wolf that drowned in the sea, who just so happens to be a friend of Smurgle.
What a coincidence.
Yeah. This wolf's name is Argog. I think it's kind of hard to pronounce. It's Aragh.
Aragh.
Yeah.
Arag?
Arag, I think that's it, yeah. So he summons Aragag, whatever.
Well.
And basically, he just runs straight through all the sand mites, finds the queen,
and kills it.
Not just kills it, kamikazes it, grabs it by the throat, and kamikazes right off of a cliff.
Oof. That is dedication to the role.
Yeah.
But hey, the wolf is okay because he's
a zombie!
Yeah, a zombie wolf.
So we have fat dragons voiced by Snarf, nerds inhabiting said bodies, and now we have zombie wolves.
Yes. Who is doing this? It says his whole thing is, if I help you guys stop Omadon, I will be brought back to life permanently.
That is a pretty good incentive right there.
Yeah, but here's the
Kind-
thing. He's currently unkillable.
Yeah.
Oh, kind of
He-
like the Lord of the Rings, the mountain men who swore an oath to the
Oh, yeah.
yeah, and now since they didn't fulfill their oath, they're indestructible ghost people until they fulfill it. So
Yeah, pretty
I was
much.
going to say like a more upgraded version of a Highlander, but
there can be only one.
woof.
I love that movie. The original is such a corn fest. It's cheese. There's so 80 cheese, but I love it. And the soundtrack, Queen.
They
Oh,
only
Freddie Mercury, you
And they
left
only-
us too soon.
and the only time will you'll hear Sean Connery trying to play a Spaniard.
Egyptian.
Oh.
Oh!
Honestly, it's Sean Connery. Asking him to play anything other than
Scotted.
yeah, it's a mistake, but we'll
It
we'll
worked for
roll with it. Yeah.
it worked for James Bond.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it is Sean Connery. Was he really truly playing a role, or was he just being himself?
Debatable on that one.
Yeah.
Very.
So they then move on, and all of a sudden, the next day, they're attacked by elves.
And we should point out these are elves who look like hobbits.
Yes. So we're talking.
borderline Keebler elves.
You beat me
Yeah.
to it. Yeah.
Oh man. And they are in trees.
Yep.
There's a connection, people. The conspiracy is true.
They came from the trees, man. They came from the freaking trees.
Out of nowhere.
Truly, out of nowhere, because they actually do ambush the group. Because these are some... Well, these guys are kind of jackasses.
Basically, they just
Yeah,
out of
yeah.
nowhere see them, and they drop a net filled with like catnip for dragons
Yeah.
that knock them out.
Yeah.
And then they drop they drop half a mountain, basically, onto the wolf.
Yeah, real dick move, elves.
Yeah.
And then they start, like, shooting arrows at the knight. And then, out of nowhere, an archer shows up and pins them all against trees.
Yeah.
Female archer, too.
Yes.
Yeah.
The reveal is so easy to see coming, it's hilarious.
No, what was hilarious really was she takes off her hat,
Oh.
and
Which
all
is
of a
basically
sudden,
just a Robin Hood hat.
and out comes this cascade of perfectly, brushed and styled, flowing waves of red locks. Because of course she's going to be the archer in green. She's going to have red hair too.
L'Oreal, 'cause I'm worth it. We do not support L'Oreal, and they are not funding us in any way. It was just a joke.
But if they are supporting us, then please buy L'Oreal.
Yes.
And stop making your shampoo burn like acid. My eyes are still recovering.
So yeah, she's introduced. She's like, I am a big fan. She's basically a fangirl for Neville Smythe, but she can back up her shit.
Oh,
That's the
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah, she actually is a pretty decent character. Not much to go on, but in terms of what she does, she's one of the more proactive heroes.
Well, at this stage, we're like halfway through the film.
Oh yeah, we're already halfway through the film, and then for some, then they discuss why the elves attacked them,
And
it
it's
was-
the flimsiest reason ever. Because the elves thought that the hero group was a party for that supports Omadon. And they've said, hey, look, there are 2 dragons over there. Let's kill them!
Well, in their defense, all the other dragons have been put under a spell by Omadon. So there's only like
Oh.
2 or 3 dragons that are actually good right now.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
good
here's a counter argument to that.
Mhm.
There are 2 dragons, a knight, and a wolf. How are the knight and the wolf not dead? Are these maybe good dragons?
You have a very valid point there,
Good.
and it's because the elves in this film are A, dicks,
Yeah.
and
And-
2,
Stupid.
and useless.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
That's also something else I like, when certain series or even in, games and whatnot, where you encounter the heroes or you, the player, encounters, other parties that are trying to be adventurers,
Mhm.
and they're obviously going about this in the addressing all the most cliched, open, we're going to go find an evil wizard.
Mhm.
That wizard you're hunting is actually a healer for several different villages. Oh, but we
Mhm.
saw him practicing arcane and mystical arts. He must be evil, and just sort of that, making. kind of like a lampshade hanging, pointing out just how ridiculous a lot of these mystical fantasy quests can turn out.
We almost forgot something.
What's that?
What's that?
The reason Mel, Princess Mel or whatever she's called, is asleep for most of the film.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, we forgot to mention that.
So what caused her Sleeping Beauty curse?
During the Sand Mite incident, Cornelius and her were watching through a magic orb.
Yeah, crystal ball.
Crystal ball, basically. And he lets her use her magic to try and view it.
Oh, yeah.
And tell him what's going on.
Yeah.
Because his magic is fading.
Yeah.
And then she hears the sound of the sand mites and starts to go insane. And then she makes this weird accusation that Cornelius killed her parents.
This is never brought up again.
Yeah.
Never addressed, and I don't think this was even in any of either the books or anything. I have no idea where this came from, and it's never brought up, as you said, again.
It felt like drama for the sake of drama.
Yeah.
For all we know, they've just told the voice actress to go, all right, we need you to make Mel sound like she's going insane / bringing up old grievances she might have with Cornelius. And it's like, well, what if I say, like, you're responsible for my parents' deaths? We didn't establish that prior, but, yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah, so that was kind of... So basically, after talking to the elves, they take the elf leader.
Why?
I don't... Meat Shield.
Okay.
I'm gonna say Meat Shield because he literally serves no purpose. Really, he's completely useless.
Yeah.
So they then keep traveling, and they get to the border between Omadon's realm and man's.
Yeah.
And there's an inn. Because, that's what you generally want to have at the foot of Mordor, basically.
Yeah.
Well, hey, you gotta rest up and restore your,
it's the save point.
Mana.
It's the save point.
Yeah. I mean, you're about to fight the final boss. Don't you want to rest up? It's only 5 gold. Or 5 gil in this case.
Yeah, pretty much. So, they're resting there, and the dragons are down in the basement getting drunk. This is literally getting drunk.
Yeah.
Singing, Oh, Susanna.
Badly.
I don't know why
Why?
Susanna, but...
Whatever.
The film's almost over anyway.
Yeah.
They're just probably phoning it in a little bit.
So, all the other non-dragon characters are up in the top floor eating.
Yeah.
And there's like a big group of shadowed individuals, and like the owner says, "Oh, those are Omadon. Those are folk from Omadon's realm." And this ticks off Sir Neville Smythe, who then says, "Why, I should challenge them and fight them off and get them out of here! And just, oh, you nasty scum, how could you serve them?" And he's like, the owner's just like, "I live on the border. I serve anyone. I just feed people.
I'm trying to run a business here. Come
Exactly.
on,
He's just...
Yeah.
You want me to cater to a specific group? What is this, the 1940s?
Yeah. So, of course, they leave, and this alerts
Omadon
to
to their location.
prison. I'm like, thank you, Neville Smythe. Thank you so much for just telling them where they are.
No. Don't thank him. Thank Snarf.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Because what happens then?
The ogre comes.
I gotta admit, this was kind of cool. The ogre.
Oh.
Because it's, they foreshadow this because they're like, well, the wizard says, "I've sensed something coming. Something with 2 eyes where there should be 3.
Yeah, I like that line. I really like that
It was
line.
a pretty good line. Because it actually feels like, oh, ogres normally have 3 eyes and everyone knows this type of thing. And it makes it feel more
They
lived in the world.
Yeah.
They don't, which is also something I should bring up is from an art direction standpoint, I like the look of the magic fantasy realm itself. It does look lived in, not sparkling new or absolutely dilapidated and Monty Python-esque. But it does have some signs of upkeep. But you can tell that even with said upkeep, it's still gonna look pretty.
There's just something about the animation style for Reichenbrass when they do hand-drawn work that has a warmth to it that I've always liked.
Yeah.
Something about it just feels nice. It's got a nice feel to it. It's not the best art, but it's got something good. It's stylized.
Very much so, yes.
I mean,
the backgrounds themselves, they may be static, but they do have a warmth, even if it doesn't
almost
exactly have a
hand.
depth.
They have like an almost, what's the term? Like etched feel to some of it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at certain like Disney from like the 90s,
Yeah.
that is a very straight. The lines are very distinct and whatnot.
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah, you can
Yeah.
almost practically see the
yeah.
black and
Yeah.
distinguishing.
And when you look at films like by Studio Ghibli, they have a certain feel to them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Reichenbrass has a very distinctive process for their films, like their
yeah.
style,
Yeah.
especially their fantasy stuff,
Yeah.
and that is very evident here. Is it dated? Yes,
Oh,
but the
absolutely.
art
very
is
much so.
still good.
Yeah.
I still think it's a pretty good artwork. So the ogre comes up and rocks everyone's proverbial
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, he also has like a peg
leg.
and,
Yeah.
which I imagine might have also been, inspiration for Peter Jackson with some of his later
Oh
troll
yeah,
designs.
that I could see that to some
Yeah.
degree.
Yeah.
Which is, well, as we said earlier, they did the original art for the Hobbit
Yeah.
animated movie and the
Return of the King.
Return of the King. Yeah. So basically, the ogre rocks up, kidnaps Danielle and Sir Neville Neville Smythe, and rocks off. Why he didn't kill the dragons, I don't know. He basically collapsed the whole building on them. I guess he thought they were dead.
He literally and figuratively wrecks shop, kidnaps the two humans.
Oh, and kicks the horse.
Kicks the
Neville
horse.
Smythe's horse.
Kicks a horse because there wasn't a dog nearby,
Mhm.
and then just goes on his merry way.
Oh, and also kills the innkeeper.
Oh yeah, who was just doing his job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then, Smeagol and no, not Smeagol.
I don't blame you for getting
Smurgle. There we go.
Smurgle, Smeagol, all
Whatever.
the fantasy names are blurring together.
Yeah,
at
they
this
blend
point.
together
It
after a
doesn't-
while. So they go and so Peter / Gorbash and the elf whose name we don't even care to remember.
Meat Shield
Meat
Elf.
Shield Elf. Go to the ogre's castle to try and get their friends back.
Which really isn't a castle. It's more just like a
I think
wall.
it's a keep.
Yeah.
Would you call it a keep? I mean,
I would say it's a keep because the battle where they fight the ogre is just on the terrace.
Yeah.
it's the wall that's okay. It's because it's the wall. That's the place that separates
into
the
Omadon.
Yeah,
realm.
okay,
That's
yeah,
right,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So the older dragon,
Smurgle.
Smurgle, is like, this is how you fight a dragon.
Or you fight a troll.
This a troll. Thank you. I don't know why it's a dragon. Yeah, this is how
Yeah.
you fight a troll. You push it off a cliff because they are solid bone and muscle.
Their skin does not burn.
Yeah.
Their bones are incredibly thick,
Mhm.
and they are very, very ugly.
And
And
they're
strong.
And
and they're
strong.
telling Peter, Smurgle and Dragonstar's body how to do this, and keep in mind he is being a flying reptile that can breathe fire for what, 2 days?
2-3 days max.
Exactly. So why don't you, Mr. Experienced and wise dragon, do it yourself as opposed to
Well, he is a lot older. That's the thing, and that comes into play because because Gorbash / Peter.
Yep.
Screws up horribly and gets pinned by the ogre.
It's pretty much a feather trying to take down a brick wall.
Yes. And then Smeagol comes in. Smurgle. That's going to trip me
We
up.
will review the Hobbit later.
Yeah.
Trust us.
Oh, yeah.
Until then, just put up with the whole Smeagol Smurgle.
Yeah. Won't have to deal much. You won't have to deal with that much longer because what happens? Smurgle kamikazes himself, which seems to be a common way to kill the bad guy in this film.
just
Into the back of the the ogre,
Yeah.
knocking him off the cliff and killing him,
But in the process, he too sustains serious injuries.
and his heart bursts.
And yeah, which he seems to last a lot longer than you would expect for someone without a heart. He pretty much says, "Is that you, Peter? Oh, this reminds me of the time my grandfather went off and fought the war."
Back in my day, we never did this, ogres.
15 minutes later, and that was when I discovered the...
Yeah, finally drops dead, and they go on their merry way. And that's when they encounter a really odd smell.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And all this weird like lake of green fluids, which of course Neville Smythe is like, oh, we shall just walk right through it. I'll be fine. I've got my armor. And then Peter's just like, no, don't. That smells like sulfur. He's there like, what's that? And he says, this, and shoots an arrow. They shoot an arrow into it, and it melts because it's acid.
I actually kind of like this part in the film because this is where Peter actually starts using one of his strengths, his mind.
Yes.
Which,
And he's basically, and it's like, you're a dragon nerd, Peter. Yes, but I'm a human, technically a nerd, inhabiting a dragon's body. I don't have that same instincts you do. I know stuff. I can't do stuff a dragon does.
Which makes me wonder, because it seems like the more reliant on magic the creatures of the magic realm are, there seems to be an inverse in how wise or, at least, resourceful they are, because they are so used to just sort of, going along with, the typical adventurer tropes and not even thinking to question twice.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
And I gotta admit, Peter does shine through at this point, because what rises up from the lake of acid but a giant worm.
A giant worm with the most weirdest face ever.
Very bulbous nose.
Yeah, this is a creature that has like a human face, but the most biggest nose you have ever seen, which seems to be a Rankin Bass icon.
Yeah,
that's bulbous noses are a big thing with them for fantasy creatures.
Yeah, but Rankin Bass, I think, goes the extra mile in terms of those bulbous noses. Especially, the Hobbit and Return of the King, the dwarven characters and everything else. You're like, you need to go to a doctor because I'm pretty sure you have a
tumor
or some sort of cancerous growth in there.
Yeah, but buddy, that nose does not look healthy.
No, like a sack of potatoes on your face.
Yeah.
But when we say worm, we mean the dragon type of worm.
Exactly.
Basically a legless, flightless dragon. I mean, isn't that generally what a worm is? I mean,
it depends.
It's not the WORME. It's
WYRM.
Yeah. Distinctions.
Yeah. We've got them.
Yeah. So they're trying to figure out how to fight this thing because it's basically
it basically bleeds acid.
It bleeds sulfuric acid.
I want to say bleeds, more like sweats it. This isn't aliens.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So. It's kind of weird because this is how they beat it. Peter basically just breathes fire on it and it ignites the acid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of
very inconsequential encounter.
Also, based on where it lives, it seems like it'd be highly impractical because he lives in an area surrounded by volcanoes and pits of fire.
Yeah. That species should have kicked the bucket.
Evolution? What?
Maybe he was actually the last of his kind.
Maybe.
Oh no! So then we're adding genocide to this film's
extinction level events.
Pretty much. So then Omadon's like, okay, enough of this.
Sends the whole dragon.
No, not yet.
Not yet.
He does something else.
Oh,
what does he do? He sends the most dreaded magic of all. Depression.
Yeah,
literally, it's a giant smoke hand.
And everything in its shadow starts going like, I want to listen to 9 Inch Nails.
9 Inch Nails? No, it's My Chemical...
Worse,
No.
Oh, My Chemical... Oh,
no, not My Chemical... They actually got some decent stuff.
Yeah, I'd say more like, early...
Crawling in my skin.
That's what I'm thinking of. Whatever one I found.
Or if we do want to go, My Chemical Romance, like, early My Chemical Romance. How could this happen to me?
That's not My Chemical Romance.
Oh, wait, that's not?
That's,
have you noticed that we're not band fans?
not certain fans.
Well,
I actually don't mind. I think, My Chemical Romance, Welcome to the Black Parade was pretty good.
Oh, yeah, that's...
the Black Parade.
Well,
that was
basically,
really good.
basically, it's every, emo, angsty teenage, phase that, you go...
Everyone goes through them. I mean, come on. That's why that music is there.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But in the movie, they're basically wearing they are basically a pair of fishnet stockings away from cutting themselves.
Pretty much. Not that we condone that type of stuff, or we're not meaning to mock anyone who has done that. Just to get that out there.
Right?
Just
We
saying.
respect all peoples and cultures.
Mm-hmm. And, basically, they're all getting very depressed, like, I can't do this. Oh, woe is me.
My sword and my bow, I'll use this.
Pretty much.
I'm just a wood elf that has no characterization.
Okay, that one was honest, at least. That was just him real. That was self-realization
Yeah.
right there for the elf. And then Peter the yellow wizard says, "Remember the gift I gave you."
But I never met you. No, just take the gift. Just
Yeah, which he literally pulls out of nowhere, which he didn't like. Where did he?
Yeah.
he pulls it from the underside of the horse, which is
Yeah.
lying down and basically going.
Yeah.
Yeah, the proportions in this movie, I think, kind of shift around a little bit, too.
I think it was a magic shield, and it grew to the size and just kind of repelled the magic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as
And then
shields are wont to
disappeared.
do.
Yeah, it repelled the magic spell and then disappeared.
Yeah.
So then Obadon's like, okay, you know what? Dragons!
Dragon horde, away!
A flight of dragons. He even name drops it. Go forth, my flight of dragons!
Did he actually...
Yeah,
name drop?
he name dropped. He name dropped.
So, and then to stop them all, they used the flute that was given to them by
The Blue Wizard.
Yes.
No, it wasn't the Blue Wizard. It
No,
was
no,
the
Blue Wizard gave him the shield.
Oh, yeah, you're right, the Blue Wizard gave him the
Stereotypical
shield.
Chinese wizard gave him the flute of peace to remove
Which-
any dark thoughts from
No,
the
not
dragons.
well.
It
It wasn't
wasn't a-
sleep
Oh,
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was,
of healing sleep.
of healing sleep. You're right. That's what it did.
all
It was
right.
the healing sleep. So they give it to the Wood Elf to
Because
play.
why else would he be here?
I mean, literally, that's all he does,
He plays a merry tune on an ocarina.
and
You-
all the dragons fall asleep,
Yeah.
including Peter.
Whoops.
And then Omadon's personal dragon rocks up,
Whoops.
Uh-oh.
who is so evil he's unaffected by it.
Whoops.
Yeah, but then during the encounter, yeah.
So the Wood Elf basically gets knocked to the side
Because why not?
because he's like
Honestly,
Tom Thumb against anything.
honestly,
Yeah, he's already fulfilled his purpose, which was A, be annoying, and B, play a song.
Yeah,
Hey, a gentle breeze would have just...
blown him over.
Yeah.
Pretty much. So then, what was her name? The archer.
Well,
I'm blanking on her. Oh, Danielle. Danielle shoots a few arrows and then gets batted to the side. Neville Smythe is just like, no, no, no! And then Argar, the wolf, gets, like, knocked over. They're all unconscious. And then, to his credit, Neville Smythe gives a speech.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Which
yeah.
we're gonna have you listen to because it's pretty BA. 1 second, let's get this going. Prepare yourself, folks.
prepared.
If you don't have chest hair already, this might just give it to you.
Mm-hmm.
Ladies, we apologize.
Child, my darling Danielle, and Arak too. Blade with whom I have lived, blade with whom I now die. Serve right and justice one last time. Seek one last heart of evil. Still one last life of pain. Cut well, old friend. Then farewell.
Pray.
Boss.
Yeah.
Boss.
And what does he do? He gets blatted with dragon fire and walks through it,
Boss.
takes his sword,
Boss.
and hurls it, flaming, right at the dragon's underbelly,
Boss.
and basically Hindenburgs him.
Hindenburg.
Precisely.
Brutal.
Yeah, I mean, it was just like, dang.
Yeah, I gotta give it to Will on this one. The dragons in this, by and large, are just Hindenburg disasters.
Yeah,
Waiting to happen.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah.
The inhabitants should probably look into that and rethink living among them. And
Well, yeah, that does happen later, but yeah. So, with his big bad dragon defeated, and basically he also passes out in the process.
Still alive,
still
despite
alive.
being set ablaze in a suit of metal armor.
Yeah, he's still alive. He's
Because
just
why not?
unconscious.
Because family movie fantasy,
Yeah.
you can't. There's limits.
So then Omadon rocks up, and is just like, "Oh yeah, I win. You can't touch this."
And then Peter decides to pull the ultimate in your face moment and just says, "Oh, I've figured out how to separate my mind and my body from Snarf Dragon
Yeah.
because using logic, I determined that two minds can inhabit the same body simultaneously."
No, it was a law of physics. Was two
Oh,
things cannot
Yeah.
exist in the same space at the same time.
Yeah.
And this is where he really utilizes his mind.
This is where he really comes into his full hero prime.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
gotta admit, it was kind of cool, and it was cool. Okay, so Omadon starts summoning up all the evil magic in the world, and he starts growing these dragon heads out of his back.
Yeah, kind of becoming his own personal image of his own personal dragon in essence.
Very King Ghidorah-esque,
Very much
Yeah.
so. Yeah, it's King Ghidorah basically.
but with 5 more heads.
Yeah,
And he's spouting all
magic. He can
yeah.
still summon magic from his hands
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
everything.
calling upon the magic of trolls, wizards, and whatnot. And what does Peter do?
He's like, I reject your magic. And he's just like, what do you mean you reject my magic? I can call forth the sun! And he's like, you fool! What you reach for isn't even there anymore.
Oh,
What are you talking about? Of course it's there! I can reach it! And then he starts quoting science facts. I laugh every time.
He Bill Nye the Science Guys him into
Submission.
defeat. Yeah.
Bill Nye, Stephen Hawking, and Neil deGrasse Tyson are all channeled by Peter in this very moment.
And he basically starts naming laws of physics that counteract his magic.
Exactly.
To the point where he's like, you can't defeat me like this, and the only way to truly defeat me is to reject magic and denounce it.
Which is interesting because a lot of the theories and whatnot that he expounds upon about matter not being able to inhabit more than one place at a time, and the sun and whatnot. He says hey, this is stuff that elementary school kids know. It's like, well,
What elementary did you go to?
I
No kidding.
know. Were you secretly admitted into Professor X's advanced school for theoretical physics and science? Because that's a little bit advanced to start learning in kindergarten. Just saying.
So Omadon is beaten by science and logic.
He's beaten by science facts, basically.
Yeah, basically just him shouting out science facts.
Something tells me that a guy could just read off an 8th grade science textbook at him, and
It would have beat him.
yeah.
Kind of anticlimactic, but at the same time, it was kind of cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it would have been better if every time he went to use a spell or something, he's like, dude, you can't create matter from nothing. Matter cannot be created nor destroyed.
Exactly.
Like something like that. That would have been really
And then
that-
poof, a head
Yeah.
disappears.
That is an interesting point you bring up, because I know that there are a few shows and even tabletop RPGs that incorporate that element of belief in either magic and or science into how their world works, because it's like a wizard or mage or whatever may be able to cast a fireball, but if, say, someone witnesses it and their disbelief in it is strong enough, they can essentially cancel it out. So it's all about, the willpower and, I guess, the belief of, the mage and those who are viewing it.
Believe it!
Oh, you went there.
Yes, I did. I did.
Just for reference, Naruto is never, ever, ever going to grace this review process. I promise you. Swear on my grave.
I love torturing you.
Yeah.
Schadenfreude.
No. You guys wouldn't do it. Okay, moving on.
Okay. So they defeat Omadon, and the realm of magic is once again whole.
Yay!
Except Peter is not there anymore.
No!
Because he denounced magic and rejected it forever.
Boo!
Thus,
He returns
to the normal world. But
But...
he took the golden magical shield with him somehow.
And the flute.
No, they didn't have the flute. The flute
Really?
No,
Just the shield?
Just the
Okay.
shield.
Just the shield.
And, well, Mel wakes up and she's like, "Where is Sir Peter? He was with me for all but a moment. He kissed me and woke me."
Okay, so now we're ripping off a Sleeping Beauty.
Yeah.
The Disney version, not the, Germanic,
Oh, let's not even
versions.
get
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
Oh, don't even bring up
This
the
is a
Anne
kid's
Rice
show.
version.
Despite the
Kid's
fact that we
show.
swore, this is a kid's show.
Kid show.
Well, I wouldn't call us a kid show. I'd call us just like a PG-13-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll go with...
No, PG-13-ish. Yeah.
Let's keep the gore to a minimum.
Yeah. So, she then says, "Oh, but I wish to be with him." So, they go back to the future, and,
The present,
present, if you will.
quote unquote.
And Peter is right back where he started,
Yep.
in the loan shark / pawn shop thing.
playing the game and dominating the owner.
The owner,
yeah.
and the owner is just like, "Wait, what's this? This gold shield? Of course I'll give it to you. You could live off this for years to come. You'd be a millionaire with this solid gold thing." I'm like, I don't think most pawn shop owners would.
Pay you $1
$1
million.
million.
Yeah, typically most pawn shop owners, if they were to see something of that extreme value, they would most likely haggle down.
Yeah.
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 But we're trying to give this a happy ending.
Yeah, so then Mel shows up.
Conveniently in modern attire.
Yes.
Which makes you wonder, did she magically, implant herself with some foreknowledge of the age that she was transporting herself to? I mean,
Wizard did it.
wizards.
Yeah.
Look, don't focus too much on it.
Wizards.
Just let it happen. Just let it happen.
Wizards, no sense of continuity. All right or wrong.
So she rocks up, and she's like, "I'd like to sell this."
And it's the One Ring, people. The freaking crown.
The red crown, the thing that caused all these problems. And she's like, "There's no remaining power in it."
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, but there's got to be
sure.
like centuries worth of malice in it.
Yeah, so I'm like, you just gave
The One Ring to a
a
dude.
pawn shop.
Yeah,
You
that's like giving nuclear arms codes to North Korea, even if they are disarmed. They'll still find some way to use them.
What, you want to make this a little more political? It's like giving the nuclear codes to Donald Trump.
Oh.
But
But,
he tweets them on a dare.
Yes.
Yeah, I liked this movie.
Yeah.
Granted,
It's got its faults.
Absolutely. I don't think it would be something I would probably, see myself watching again anytime soon. But hey, like you said, rainy day, or if you're babysitting kids and they are tired of the modern,
like
fare.
Disney stuff, such like certain ones. It's like, here's something new.
Yeah.
You can introduce something to
Yeah.
It'll make them think a little bit.
And hey, compared with everything that seems to be either Flash or CGI nowadays, maybe make them
Appreciate the older art.
Yeah.
even if back then artists were still paid for dirt to animate this.
Well, they still are paid like dirt. Look what happened with that animated film Sausage Party.
Oh,
Yeah, like half their half the animators aren't even credited or some shit.
Yeah,
like that.
Really?
Well, I read it online. It was
Yeah.
on
it's-
IO9 or
Okay.
Kotoko or whatever.
But credit where credit's due.
Mm-hmm.
This film is definitely a product of its time.
Oh, yeah.
And while it's not like, going to be the highlight of anyone's party,
No.
if someone says, "Hey, is this good?" just say, "You know what? Let's give it a watch."
Yeah, it's worth a watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, just maybe break out some Cheetos, get some Led Zeppelin cranking maybe before or after, and
Throw it in the background during a D&D party.
Yeah.
Have some fun with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, here's an interesting little tidbit.
Yo.
Back in 2012,
Yeah?
I believe, this was almost adapted into a live-action film.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they actually got... I don't know how far they got, depending on different sources and all.
Yeah.
Depending on how far they got, they actually did recorded some music for it and everything.
Oh.
But then it fell through,
Oh.
and nothing's come of it since.
Yeah, a lot of nostalgia properties like that, they seem to get somewhere in the writing / playing phase, and that's usually when it falls through.
Makes you wonder if they did go through with it, if the dragons would have had more realistic proportions, or if they would have been just bouncing balls that you see in schoolyards.
It'd be interesting. I mean, they did just do the
Pete's Dragon.
Pete's Dragon, yeah. Which they went with a very different look. Well, actually, Pete's Dragon looks a lot like the dragons in this, almost.
Kinda. He's got a very wider bottom than he does a top.
Yeah,
but I would not say that it's like dodgeball shaped. It's very much like they're trying to take a cartoon character and make it more realistically proportional. But you want to keep it still similar to the character that it's based on. So yeah, you're gonna have it a little goofy looking.
Yeah. Okay, so now that we've talked about the plot of it and our thoughts on it, let's talk about something a little interesting. The voice actors. The voice actors actually do a pretty good job. I mean, of course, we have James Earl Jones, who does an amazing job.
You can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, you can tell which voice actors are, did their work and put some heart into it, and which just kind of phoned it in. All right, where's my paycheck?
I don't think many of them phoned it in entirely.
No,
they just
not entirely,
weren't given,
but
some of them weren't given as much to work with.
Exactly, and I think that's that can be directing for voice actors is just as important for live action or movie, because if you say, all right, just read this line sad, it's like, okay, how about something a little bit more in depth or specific?
Well, I mean, that's a problem that we're going to talk about a lot when we talk with with the anime and stuff. That's a big factor. Yeah. Because a bad voice acting can just ruin a film. This film actually had pretty good, not just pretty good, had quite good voice acting.
Yeah.
For its time, yeah.
Yeah, for its time. That was really well done. Now let's talk about the characters. Cornelius, the Green Wizard, was voiced by Henry Morgan.
Harry Morgan.
Harry. I am so sorry.
Harry Morgan, which, if you've watched MASH, he played Colonel Potter.
Ah, so there you go.
Yeah.
Argosh, or however you say the wolf's name, the zombie wolf, is voiced by Victor Bruno, who, if you're a fan of the 1960s Batman starring Adam West, you might know as King Tut.
Oh,
wow.
Yes.
Batman had some really weird foes back in the day. I mean, King Tut, yeah.
Oh, he had, what was that guy, Egghead? Which was Vincent Price.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Hey, can't go wrong with Vincent Price.
No, you cannot.
A classy act, that's what he is. And he had fun with what he did.
Oh yeah.
But sadly, this was Victor Bruno's last film before he died. Yeah. As for the main character, Peter Dickinson, well, he is voiced by the late, great John Ritter. Famous for such TV shows as Three's Company.
Oh, no way.
He was also, I think, what was the last one he was in? It was, Problem Child, wasn't he? He was the dad in Problem Child.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, then he was in, what was it? What was the last film he was in? Oh, it was a TV show. It was, 8 Simple Rules for Dating My Teenage Daughter.
That's the one.
That's the one he died in, and they tried to continue it afterwards.
Yeah.
It didn't pan out too well, so they just decided, okay, before we disgrace this man's...
he was also in... he was Eugene Grandy in King of the Hill.
Huh.
Oh.
I didn't know that.
If I'm remembering this correctly, he was also a recurring character in the first Blade film.
First Blade film?
Yeah.
Really?
I believe so.
When did the first Blade film come out?
90s?
Yeah.
Mid-90s?
Mid-90s? I thought it was 2000, early 2000s.
Huh.
I could very well be just pulling this out of my ass.
I think you're thinking of somebody else.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Oh, he was in Buffy the Vampire Slayer for one episode.
Okay.
Huh.
Yeah, I remember that episode. It's when they introduced robots into the Buffy universe.
Wait, what? Wait, a girl who hunts vampires, weird monsters and whatnot has to go up against robots?
Hey,
it pops up here and there.
Magic robots, maybe.
Yeah,
but she fights demons. I mean,
yeah, the technology aspect was always a little weird in
Alright,
it.
so
But yeah, so here's an interesting little tidbit.
Yo.
So, John Ritter's son,
Yeah.
Jason Ritter, is currently most famous for playing Dipper Pines in Gravity Falls.
Oh,
We'll be talking about that later.
Oh, yeah.
One of my favorite series as of late. So good. So, in episode 13 of season 2 of Gravity Falls, titled Dungeons, Dungeons, and More Dungeons, they make a reference to this film. The names some of the fantasy names posted in the living room where Ford and Dipper are playing are all parodies of the names from the characters of those movies.
Flight of Dragons.
Yeah,
all
Flight
right.
of Dragons. So I thought that was a cool little throw-in.
Nice little homage
Yeah,
there.
nice little.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was our first step on Reference Road.
Yeah.
Oh boy, yeah, we could just dedicate this entire series to references and possibly establishing the conspiracy theory of how everything is interconnected with every other universe. But
Oh, there's a lot of those. But that is a segment we will be touching on maybe next time.
next time,
Yes. So,
Don't worry. We've got a lot of references to go through.
Oh, we do. So overall, impressions, we thought it was a pretty good film.
I liked it. For what it's worth, it's a great film.
Mhm.
Definitely something to watch if you just have like time to spare. My only one real complaint
Mhm.
is that I hate the design of the dragons. They're just goofy. I mean,
Yeah.
you hear the voices, you're like, this needs a more cartoony voice, like a voice.
Well, here's the thing. We know, based on The Hobbit, that they can draw, that Reichenbrass can do intimidating dragons.
Oh god, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that.
I am Smog. I take what I wish.
Oh,
Yeah,
Smaug
yeah.
in the original Hobbit animated movie was awesome.
Oh yeah.
But you want to know what scared me the most from that? Gollum. He gave me nightmares, and we're not talking like he did not look anything like
The
this-
illustrations in the book, yeah.
well, every illustration of the book has described him differently.
Yeah, it's...
But this was like weird, almost frog-like creature,
Subterranean
alien,
monster.
webbed
Yeah.
fingers that would just like
Yeah.
reach out and grab it, like Creature of the Black Lagoon, but terrifying face.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, so
More on the
creepy.
Hobbit later.
Yes.
Thank you, Rick and Bass. Thank you very
Indeed.
much. But,
Nightmare fuel for all.
yeah, as for me, yeah, I'd say it was pretty good. For, a non-Disney, animated feature of the time. I mean, obviously, since then, other companies have stepped up their quality requirements for their animated features, but...
Well, Reichenbrass, I gotta admit, they have their special niche in the
Yeah,
anime. So
yeah,
they did
yeah.
a lot of like TV stuff, and I mean,
Uh-huh.
they were actually still involved with animation until a couple years ago. They were actually involved in the reboot of the Thundercats.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There's actually, funnily enough, if you watch some of the background characters in the new Thundercats, some of the characters from Silverhawks actually pop up in the background.
Oh yeah.
And sadly, one of them actually died recently. I think it was Riken.
Yeah.
He died a year or two ago, actually.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, they were, up until his death, they were both involved in animation
Oh,
in
wow,
some way or
okay.
another.
Oh.
Though if you look at their the official website for Reichenbass Productions,
It's pretty extensive.
no, actually, what I was gonna say is it screams early '90s. It has not been updated or anything. It's pretty bad.
Ooh.
Like, yeah, it's a
Like,
pretty bad website.
Like Space Jam, the movie website in terms of quality.
Probably not even that. No, I don't know.
Oh,
I
wow.
haven't gone on Space Jam website, so I don't know about that.
I've only visited once just because I've heard that it was still up even in like 2010 or like
Really?
2012. Yeah.
Well, the
Yeesh.
website for Extreme Ghostbusters is still up.
Really?
What?
Yeah, you
Yeesh.
can do a tour of the firehouse.
Huh.
And it actually gives you some information on the characters, more so than the series does.
How about that?
Yeah, I actually enjoyed that series, which was something we might touch on later.
I will be sure to go through some of the classics.
Okay, but with that in mind, why don't we drop a little hint of what we're going to be discussing next episode?
Drop it.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please. Next week, we will be kicking the hyperdrive engine into overtime and going light speed as we discuss Star Wars: The Clone Wars.
Okay, enough of that.
Yeah, I started off with the opening text scroll. I didn't know which song we were going with.
That's
but
alright.
It's Star Wars. Someone will be able to pick out the individual melody for each.
Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
It's going to be fun. Well, thank you so much for listening to the first episode of Animation Triad. Once again, I'm your host, Stuart, and my co-host.
I'm William.
And I'm Alex.
And we wish you a pleasant listening.